Hola and welcome to Automotive Logistics and Supply Chain Mexico. Here on the Red Sofa, we'll be bringing you interviews from some of our top speakers and VIPs, and I'm very pleased to welcome Lizette Gracida, Senior Director of External Affairs and Trade Compliance at Toyota Motor de Mexico, who's just joined us as well on stage talking about issues around government and public policy, what the industry can do to invest and stay competitive in the supply chain. Lizette, I wanted to just talk to our audience. You're responsible for external affairs and represent Toyota at various industry bodies and dialogue with government and free trade agreements. What should the key priorities be for the government or potential new government in Mexico next year in an election to help the automotive industry grow for 2024 and beyond?
Thank you so much for the invitation. Very happy to be here. And at Toyota, we always prioritize collaboration and maintaining continuous communication with government, industry, and key stakeholders. And we strongly believe that there are huge opportunities for Mexico, particularly in terms or like nearshoring and electrification. And for taking those opportunities, we think that Mexican government should work on creating holistic and long-term public policies. And these policies should focus on the critical issues that we are facing currently in the country, such as clean energy availability, modernization of the infrastructure, and the creation of new infrastructure, seamless connectivity, and also the development of human capital to support this growth and the automotive industry future. So I think that with these key pillars, or by focusing in these key pillars, we as an industry will continue supporting this sustainable growth and success for Mexico.
Fantastic. I think very important pillars, as you've pointed to. If we look at the supply chain and logistics right now, one of the key areas, or one of the key challenging areas, is certainly the border and also, let's say, import-export into ports, etc., whether it's to do with customs, IT systems, the migrant situation on the border, congestion. Again, challenging topics, but how can the industry and government work together sort of better than they are now to mitigate and improve those situations?
So this year, the auto industry and in general, the private sector faced many challenges, and Toyota was not the exception. We certainly were impacted by the situations you just mentioned, and we believe that we need as industry to continue collaborating and working very closely with the government to solve these matters jointly. However, I think that there are two main things that may ease the current situation. The first one is to modernize the systems that are used for customs purposes, as well as the toll systems at the border. And the other one that I think that we should be discussing is the creation of a binational contingency plan between the Mexico and the US to ensure business continuity for the private sector. So if there is any incident or any issue, if we have this contingency plan, we can implement it immediately and continue with our operations.
Very interesting and clear paths we can improve on. Another big topic at the event here today, nearshoring, localization. Lots of companies talking about it. There also seems to be a lot of investment, which is very positive. But whilst companies are investing, do you think Mexico is gaining as much as it could, or are there areas where it's actually perhaps not realizing its full potential when it comes to nearshoring?
So I personally think that Mexico could be taking more advantage of the great opportunities that nearshoring brings if Mexico investments in infrastructure, clean energy, human capital, and security can be secured.
So obviously, as those pillars that you set out for the government, without them, we could see Mexico lose out, or at least not compete as well against other regions, be that in Asia or in the Americas. Another area in terms of trade policy I wanted to touch upon, USMCA, which you obviously had, for our audience may not know, fed into key ideas and the creation of it as well. We're 3 years in, there's a review in 3 years. What are areas that need to be addressed, potentially improved, in Mexico or also across, trilaterally across US, Canada, Mexico for this agreement?
So I think that the private sector, as well as the governments of the three countries, should focus on emphasizing the benefits that the agreement brings or have brought, and also the success achieved over these past 3 years. I believe that the governments of the three countries should be more ambitious for the future. And with this, I mean that maybe a supranational organization focused specifically on trade issues should be created to address the issues in each one of the countries and isolate politics from trade matters. So maybe upgrading this type of mechanisms and or creating new ones could evolve the agreement in the future.
So a really important point there, separating the politics from the benefits there. Not easy, but an important objective. Finally, you've raised the human capital as one of the key pillars to address with government and industry. In terms of new skills and competencies, what are really key steps you would like to see happen to grow that skilled base here in Mexico, really grow the talent base for the automotive and supply chain industry?
So as we were talking earlier today, the industry is undergoing a transformation, and I believe that the auto industry needs to work very closely with the government and academia to explain what this change means and make sure that everyone really understands what the industry is now requiring from Mexico to continue growing in the country. To give you an example, current engineers are experts on internal combustion engines, for instance, but most likely they really don't understand how a BEV or a fuel cell electric vehicle works. So we need to make sure that this is clear. And what we need to do is to update the study plans not only at the university level, but also in the technical careers, so that we can secure sufficient skilled human capital for the future of the industry.
It's a fantastic vision for the industry, and I'm thrilled that we get to hear from you, Lizette. Thank you so much for sharing. We look forward to continuing to talk with you about that development and raise this message at an industry level to government and others too. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.